we're going to get started. We got a real full program coming on tonight, and a lot of good news and ways that we can all get involved. And I haven't thought of a good Irish joke for you today, but I'll think of one before we're done. Welcome. Oh, go ahead, Sydney.
So if you didn't pay online and ate some lunch, here comes the bucket.
Did you?
By the way, I just want to let everybody know up front, our last meeting in April, we filmed, thanks to Jim Hurley and his wife, we were able to film our meeting here. And it's up on our SABC website, Southern Arizona Business Coalition. We are continuing to do these, and as we get more developed, we're not going to be ESPN here or Fox News, but we are going to try to make sure as we evolve in this process of getting this information out, and this is just another way of us sharing our message with people that don't have a chance to show up, or educate people on the reality of what our industry is all about. So if anybody has any objection, because we're going to pan the room a little bit, somebody is a little shy of the camera, let Jim know. Me, I'm not afraid of a camera or a microphone, so that's the way it goes. We have, Kathy, you finished? We have, we started this meeting in 2009?
I think so.
2009, we had about 15, 20 people. Then it grew to about 30, then about 50, to where we've had as many as 150 and not enough room. We started this because the Rosemont project really needed public support. Well, the continued support of the people in this audience and the citizens outside this arena have been very helpful. And this young lady here has spent 11 years almost.
It's been more than that. Let's not
A
go there.
long time putting this project together. So congratulations, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here we are, Kathy Arnold.
I guess this works. Yes, it has been that long. We actually turned our application in 2007. Bonnie, I think we got a problem with our presentation. I'm going to give you a project update. As you probably saw in the paper, our ROD was signed on June 6, 2017. And I'm going to take some credit for us being able to say that. I actually have reviewed the documents. You all supported us. So really, this is an opportunity for us to say thank you. Most of you spent a lot of time at our public hearings, nights, weekends, evenings. I know Rick and Bill Ossenmacher spent tons of time. Randy, I see you in the audience. I mean, there are a ton of people in this room who showed up for everything, who gave their comments, who stood up, and who made sure that our project was the best project that it could be. So I wanted to first say thank you to everyone in this room, because the reason that we're here is that everyone here helped us move forward. So thank you for your support, and thank you for coming to the lunches. I want to give you a snapshot, just a real quick, of how we got here. Now this is just the Forest Service review, and we're using these as talking points for people who have worked with us. And that way, if someone asks you or you hear someone say, this was just a paperwork exercise, it's all because Trump took office, this wouldn't have ever gotten through if it was somebody else, the president, that's not how this works. It's been since 2006 when we first turned in our first application, and we've gone through that process using thousands of days, or thousands of public comments, tens of thousands of public comments, tons of days of public hearings. We've had lots of input. We've had thousands of reports. And all of that work has been done to support the science behind our project. And so I just really want you all to be aware of some of the things that have gone on into getting one permit. This is only what was associated with the ROD from the Forest Service. And so please make sure that if you hear someone say something like that, call them on it. Say, hey, that is not true. We went to those hearings. We participated. We provided the feedback. And And we maybe agree that there are issues. I mean, all mines will have some issues that we don't like, but there's a need for copper, and there's a reason that we're allowed to do what we do. So here we are, and if you need talking points ever, or you're interested in knowing that, feel free to contact us. We've spent more than $100 million getting here, and that's not in bribes, as you might hear some of the environmentalists say. If I was bribing people, we would have had this a long time ago. Let's put it that way. So here we are. Our next steps: 404 permit with the Army Corps of Engineers. As you've all heard, it's been elevated to the district office from the division, which is local. And we think that that's a good thing for us. It takes the politics out of it. They're reviewing everything, working through issues, and we still are getting the if we decide, or, you know, we haven't decided yet, but indications are that we're working through the issues with them, and so I'm expecting to hear good things from them. But it's not going to happen fast. And so this is where we are. We're waiting to hear. We have to also have the mine plan that we've been working on. I want to acknowledge my team, specifically David Krizik. He's rewritten the entire mine plan, which is about 4 foot of documents stacked up, to have one voice. And that's been a huge challenge, and he's worked very hard to do it. So if you don't know David, or if you need a great tech editor, you can't have him, but he might be able to give you some pointers on how to do that. And we'll keep you posted as things move forward. I let Jerry come and do the ones that are like, yeah, well, nothing new's happening. But I want to give you the good news. And so this was good news for us today. One thing that if you're a vendor and you're interested, or if you're looking for work, vendors, make sure you have registered on our site, please. A lot of you did that early. Check and make sure that nothing's happened, that you're still on there. We'll use those lists for pre-qualification as we go out and go bidding and doing that kind of work. So make sure that you're on there. It's on the Hudbay site. You go to Hudbay Minerals, the Rosemont, and then the place that you look is off to the side over here, and it's vendor supplier pre-qualification form. And it's really not pre-qualification, it's more just registration, and then they'll use that to pre-qualify. So you're all set up, all right? And then if you're looking for work, or you're interested in working for us, we do have a job site, and we're not posting anything yet, but we are going to start to hire again. So just keep your eyes open and keep your eyes on the job boards if you're interested. I've been trying to steal people from Asarco for years, but Manuel said I have to stop. So if you have any questions? Yes?
Kathy, that $100 million was spread through this community. And I'd like everybody who had something to do with that or worked on that to stand up in here.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Stand up, Robbie.
Thank you. I never thought of doing that. The other thing that I want to do is, if you commented on our process, why don't we have you show your hands? I think everybody did at one point or another, or showed up at a hearing. So again, I want you to take credit for where we are today. So thank you very much, and we look forward to moving forward.
The barrel alternative is the
Selected alternative was the barrel alternative, which means no heap leach. Okay? Is there anything else that anybody wants to know? I'm open for questions. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. All right, I was 6 minutes. Sorry.
I have to confess, the FBI is looking for me now. That's just wrong. Okay, the first thing is, this is June, the hardest month in Tucson. So we didn't know, congratulations on Sunday, whether we didn't know. So I think Rick has nobody talking, he has me, hey, did you talk? And I know nobody's going to be here in June, nobody's going to, and so the deals, all these people showing up and all these good news, but I want to make a very quick update of Asarco. So, as you know, we are continuing with our big challenge, which is building or updating the smeltering agent. We're going to shut down for 30 days, starting in mid-June, and we're going to have to stop again for another 30 days next year, around mid-January. So that project is going. That's the life of ours, not the next 25 years. And as I described it, I only need 25 because 65 is 29, 25 is 90, and I won't care about after that. So I hope they can continue. That's not after I'm 90. But that's what is going on in Azarco. The copper price is holding. Not very fancy news about the price of copper because everyone's saying that there's a lot of metal around the world. And despite that, the shutdowns or problems that some companies had with the first half of the year, it still doesn't look like a wow, here we go. So the good news is it's holding, the bad news is it looks like it's not going up. And maybe it's going to slow a little bit. So be careful with all the projects, but we need to do what we are doing. So we're spending those $180 million to update the smelter, and we will be ready by February, March, April 2018, and we will finish the project in October, November 2018. So that's the update. So I'm sorry that you are here in June, and I'm very sorry for the rest, but congratulations again, good job. I follow all the time Hudson Bay, and they are very good friends, and yes, we don't want them to take over people, but life is like.
Jim? Liberty Star Uranium brought to our attention a couple of issues. One of them is the recent administration directive to have the EPA look at the national monuments that were designated over the last 10 or 15 years. And with the Silver Bell region, where we have the Ironwood National Forest, is an area of concern, not only to Liberty Star Uranium, but also Azarco. So we're going to discuss the issue, and the reason we are, other than the fact it's another good mining project, we hope to get up and running and expanding the other one. But we're also going to be calling on you at some point to say, hey, listen, we're going to need your help in getting the process engaged to let the governor's office and then eventually the EPA know that we are supporting a position that will be put out. And so, again, engaging everybody and keeping the information flowing. Jim, here you go, sir.
Okay, I'm going to have Jay flip the slides for me, and I'm going to concentrate on making this as quick as possible within 5 minutes. And my name is Jim Briscoe. I'm president of Java US Incorporated, a private Arizona company, and Liberty Star Uranium and Metals, a public company with approximately 8,000 shareholders scattered around the world. I wanted to start out with this slide very quickly to show you all the extents of the Ironwood Forest in relation to the Tucson Mountains, the city of Tucson, and the general area. I was a little bit shocked when I first saw this because I've seen this at small scale. But this is a humongous area. And there is no endangered species here. Although I was cautioned by a person just a few minutes ago that the first-step cactus is endangered. It's endangered because its habitat is so small, it only lives on the lower Paleozoic limestones, primarily exposed in the waterfront mountains. How do I know this? I went on a full day's field trip with, there you go. Sorry about that. How's that? I hate it when people do that to me. Okay, I went on a full day's field trip with the contractors from the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum and had this very carefully explained to me. And I said, well, actually, they talked about the Silurian limestone, I believe. And I said, well, it's not endangered, it's just that there's so little of it. It's kind of like a fish out of water is endangered because there isn't any water there, so it needs to jump back in the pond. But otherwise, The pygmy owl is not endangered, the long-nosed bat is migratory, therefore not endangered. And even the name ironwood forest is misleading because the only concentration of ironwoods are on the north side of Ragged Top. The rest of this area is pretty darn devoid of ironwoods. And many people, when they go out there, say, well, where's the ironwood forest? Well, it really doesn't exist. So, I am a proponent, along with certain others, of disbanding this monument completely. And part of the reason is that we've spent millions and millions of dollars and have outlined some 20 porphyry copper centers along the Silver Bell Caldera, which wasn't even known when I started, well, no, it was known when we first started. And because of the very nice report that David Briggs has put out regarding the amount of copper produced in the Silver Bell mines, and because we know through geochemistry and geophysics exactly where these centers are, we can extrapolate that there is $80 billion, and I said billion, not million, $80 billion of future ore reserves that can be drilled out in this area. Considering that we can't even fix the streets in Tucson, I think that's a figure of importance. Next, wherever Jay is. Okay, this is a recent report by the U of A, and we'll talk about that later. And one thing I'm going to tell everyone is that I will talk about this to anybody, anytime, morning, noon, afternoon, or evening, and the week, including the weekends, that wants to hear my opinions. I speak for myself and my shareholders. Nobody else, not a sergeant, of course. This is the land that we had before the institution of the monument. Covers 22 square miles, which is larger than the Asarco ground. And these are targets that actually continue across the Papago and into this area and to East Silver Bell. And these were derived by geochemistry and geophysics, and they're very, very precise. I'm going to not spend a lot of time on all of this because there isn't that amount of time available, but I will talk in detail about this particular target, in which we have continued to pay assessment work on every year up to just recently. Next. This is the East Silver Bell project. The Asarco boundary is right here. This is IP geophysical lines. Here. This is the edge of the Silver Bell caldera and the inner edge, because in the interval we have strongly altered rock. This is a magnetic anomaly, primarily derived from the details of ground surveys, very, very detailed magnetics. And we had quite a well-known geophysicist look at this to see what he thought about it. And he said, well, there's your porphyry copper. And he was right. These are drill holes. This IP line is over Asarco property, and we did that with their permission and cooperation. And probably some other things that we did cooperatively. At any rate, all that data has been handed over to Asarco and is in their archives. So we're going to, this stuff is post-mineral basaltic andesites. We see those dikes. I have to tell you that I have worked for Asarco at Silver Bell for 3 years, so I'm very, 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 very familiar with the geology here. And within the pits, there's lots of post-mineral dikes. Those are probably the same feeder dikes that occur and feed these flows. But these are surface flows. They do overlie the leach capping, which means the leach capping existed 14 to 18 million years ago after these things were deposited. That was always a question at Silver Bell. Next. Oh, yeah, we have some friends that are interested in this too. Fred Franks Republican representative in Congress now. He was state representative from Mojave County, my wife, myself, and Vice President Pence. Thank you. So let's go on next. This is soil sampling, 254 soil samples analyzed for 15 elements. And I will tell you that these are all from certified labs. All of the collection techniques were designed by Shay Clark Smith, a very well-known geochemist and a very smart guy. And he, along with John Gilbert and I, designed the whole program. Moly and soil, dot plots, next. Molybdenum as an isometric diagram, so this is the porphyry copper, next. Copper in soil, next. Lead in soil, classic porphyry copper metal dispersion halo, next. Silver in soil, yes, we do have a silver anomaly here, and there may be a silver deposit there. And if there's silver, could there be gold? Yes, there is. And this was actually mentioned in the U of A report that I showed earlier. We actually did control samples. Any scientific program that is using geochemistry or geophysics for that matter, you have to have control over something that is known. Because I was very familiar with the North Silver Bell ore body, having drilled holes there. We asked permission of the SARCO to run our geochemistry over the North Silver Bell body that at that time was completely untouched. Completely untouched, it was virgin. We did that, and we found that on the very east end of the alteration zone, well beyond visible alteration, we went beyond, a mile beyond the propylitic halo, we ended up with a gold anomaly, next, and gallium. Now remember, this is East Silver Belt. Gallium and gold go together. And we've been doing this now for 25 years, and I can tell you that I think I could say that most, if not all, porphyry coppers have a gallium and gold anomaly around them. And the U of A report mentioned the discovery of the gold zone near Ragged Top. That is within this gold and gallium anomaly that we actually defined on the control samples. Next. This is just a stacked outline of our exploration procedures, which were geology and mag and IP, aerial photography. We got a set of very fine air photos over the entire Silver Bell area. Moly geochem, ground magnetics, modeled IP to a depth of 250 feet, and modeled IP to 1,000 feet in depth. This is, and these are drill holes, of course, and some have not yet been drilled. But this is a classic porphyry copper, just like all the other Silver Bell porphyry coppers. Dr. John Gilbert was my partner in this, and myself and a client with the SARCO facilities in the background. Okay, these are drill holes. Chalcocite is what makes the ore body at Silver Bell, and this is copper, a chalcocite blanket in the process of being destroyed and reprecipitated below. Molybdenum, which is obviously mobile because it's leached out of the surface, although some of the surface is post-mineral andesite, so I'd have to go back and look. This is zinc. Next. Okay, this is more of the same. This is essentially what was called a core board, and I'm sure in the archives of Silver Bell there's many core boards sitting around because that was developed by Harold Courtwright and Kenyon Richard. This is cuttings and pan samples. You can see by examination, if you're familiar with leach capping, that this is all leach capping. This is chalcocite undergoing destruction for more enrichment below, and you'll notice the holes are only 600 feet deep, molybdenum, etc. Next. This is Spencer-Timpney's description of this very phenomenon. This is very well known throughout the world. I wasn't the first to think of it, and Spence wasn't the first to think of it either. It goes so far back that I thought it was axiomatic. At any rate, this is just a nice diagram of what actually happens, and the leaching and releaching of chalcocite can go on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cycles, and that's what creates ore bodies all over North and South America in the desert regions. Next. This is the example of the claims that we were forced out of, an unconstitutional taking. These are readily available in the U.S. BLM archives. This took about 10 minutes to pull out because we had lots of records that were, it was more bothersome to go into our records than it was to go back to the BLM. So those reside forever and ever, I suspect. So that's it. I would recommend that everybody get behind doing away with this monument and allowing us to develop the $80 billion worth of identified resources. And again, I would be happy to discuss it with anyone. Thank you.
Talk about the national monument designation and what you've been doing to move forward.
Well, I'm not a geologist, so it was a great talk though. Thanks, Jim. I'm the Senior Manager of Environmental Affairs for SARCO. And in early May, we got wind that President Trump had reached out to all the governors of the western states, asking them for their input into the designation of national monuments, and wanting the governors to look at all designations 100,000 acres and greater, and to provide input not only on the validity of the designation, but also the whole process under the Antiquities Act, which is how these monuments came into existence. The Antiquities Act, for those of you that don't know, is basically a presidential, with the stroke of the pen, they can write into existence an unlimited amount of acreage into a national monument, which prohibits certain public uses. In the case of the Ironwood Forest National Monument, it withdrew all that land from any further mineral exploration. We have, SARCO has about 4,500 acres of valid existing unpatented mining claims within the national monument. About a couple weeks after that, something else happened. The president put out a Federal Register notice asking for public comment on what people thought of the monument designations and how the boundaries of the monuments could be redrawn to protect what needs to be protected within those national monuments, but still open up the rest of the federal land for public use. So that was basically a gift that's dropped out of the sky. In my knowledge, I don't know of any public comment period that's ever taken place on a national monument designation. So this is really a gift out of the sky for us. What we are doing right now is working on comments that we will be sending to the Bureau of Land Management, Department of Interior, on the valid existing claims that we have in our property, and to redraw those boundaries to protect the archaeological objects that are within the monument boundaries, but to open up the rest of the land to further mineral exploration and other public use. So what we want to do is ask for your support on that. I can take your business cards if you're interested in commenting. The comment deadline is July 11th, I believe. So I can take your business cards and get you information that you might need in order to be able to provide public comment on this. Is there any questions?
When was this designation made of
The Ironwood Forest National Monument, I was thinking back, I think it was 17 years ago today. June 9th, 2000. So, yeah, it's the 17th anniversary today. Another interesting fact, about 40% of the land within the monument boundaries is state and private land. It's the only national monument with that much state and private land locked up within the boundaries of a national monument.
Nancy, you had mentioned that the president had asked also the state to get more involved in processing this
Yeah, so
redesignation, if you will.
the president has asked for the governors of each state to provide input not only on the monument designations within their states, but on the whole process of designating monuments under the Antiquities Act. So we've spoken to Hunter Moore, who is the Natural Resource Advisor to Governor Ducey, and he is developing comments not only on the national monuments within Arizona, but on the process of designating a monument itself. He's gotten a lot of input from people around the Grand Canyon Crochant National Monument up in the northern part of Arizona. He hasn't heard a whole lot from anybody about Ironwood Forest, I guess because it's one of the smaller national monuments at only 185,000 acres. So, you know, if you have contacts in the governor's office, you might want to reach out to them too. But we're developing a bunch of points about the Ironwood Forest National Monument in particular that we can share with you if you'd like to submit a letter to the Federal Register. Yes, 100 or 880 acres of our own private land is within the national monument, which was a mistake. They drew the boundaries of the monument wrong and put some of our property in there.
All right, here's what we're going to do from here. I'm going to work with Nancy. Jim, you got some insight into this? And we're going to post some stuff on our website. We're going to do an email blast. That way when you write or comment, you have an educated understanding of what it is you're saying. We just want to do this because we don't want the government to have our land is not a good argument. So we're going to need your support, but we're going to provide you with good information that allows you to adequately respond, say that 3 times, and then make sure that when they hear these comments, they're well informed and they're articulated in a positive way. We're not here to bash anybody. What we're here is to promote something. And this is an opportunity for Southern Arizona to expand its mining resource and the economic values that come with it. I mean, at the end of the day, we have such an enormous amount of resource here that we need to be able to tap into these because our next generation of citizens are going to be looking to stay home as much as they possibly can, and this industry provides a whole lot of value for that. We also have Mike Conway here with the AGS. Mike, you want to say anything here?
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Conway with the Arizona Geological Survey. Jim Briscoe mentioned a summary sheet of mineral resources for the Ironwood Forest National Monument and the U of A. We actually put that up at the survey, and we did so because we got a request from some senators and representatives from Phoenix to see if we could pull together just some basic information to alert everybody to the nature of the mineral resources at the 4 Arizona national monuments that have been that President Trump has asked the Secretary of the Interior to review. So we put those up. They're online and available for anybody at our document repository. We also have a number of other technical reports and geologic maps for the Ironwood area, not so much for the other parks. I guess in our National Monument we have quite a bit of information too. So that's available, it's online. Anybody can have it. If you have any questions about those materials, you can certainly get a hold of me and we'll make sure that we make them accessible to you. Our role in this is to basically assist the state government, to assist others who are looking for information in those areas, and we're happy to comply with that if we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Speaking of state employees, we have one of our state legislators who I'm going to let Sidney introduce because he was very much a part of this next topic that we're going to get to. Mark Fincham has, did you have a question, Jim?
Before we get completely off topic, I would like to just say a few words about mining exploration and withdrawal of our land to federal grasp, not available for exploration. In exploration, we don't know. And what I presented to you today started in 1966 and has continued on up to the current time. And there were several key points. My recognition of the offset and the vessel, the existence of Caldera, which has been realized before, and then the development of techniques where we look along the earth pretty inexpensively, and that including geochemistry and geophysics. So we can't assume that there are no mineral deposits anywhere. There might be, we don't know, until we go through these relatively expensive things. And there is no hint of any of these deposits, except for the silver.
Thanks, Jim. Sidney.
Yes, I don't need the microphone.
I'm not
You can count on me to
I'm not
step up
touching it.
And comment and get our troops to comment, so we'll be there for you. Short window of time, as always, we usually have to do things very quickly. Well, there's another issue that we're gonna have to act very quickly, and it involves coal. So Representative Mark Fincham is here, one of our stalwart supporters of mining. Come on up here. We participated, Amigos and AMA and Southern Arizona Business Coalition participated in a rally that many of the people whose jobs depend on the Peabody coal mine and the Navajo generating station participated in on May 17th. Peabody put this short 2-minute video together so that those of you who weren't there can see what happened. And in the process, we made Representative Fincham a star. So let's play your debut as a star. Start from the beginning, though.
Navajo Generating Station was actually a trade-off that was endorsed by the Sierra Club in order to stop the construction of hydro dams in order to generate electricity that way. So having the mine co-located with the power plant, all of that makes sense economically.
There is no reason that we should close a power plant that we still owe the United States $369 million on. It's crazy.
We have 325 skilled jobs out there, and virtually everyone, like it's been said before, is Native American, Navajo, and Hopi.
Our people are going to be hurt very much. I've said before and in other places that, this is about survival now. This is really about survival.
We will keep the coal, the NGS running till 2029. That is our goal. That's what we will see happen.
Is the pricing that's out there, is the market pricing going to stay what it is today? I would argue that the most unstable power source we have right now is natural gas. Coal is the most stable, so let's give it some time and let's try to keep it open.
There's no reason that this plant can't continue to run for decades to come.
It's going to meet the needs of the energy requirement that we need going forward, as well as our downstream users, which is folks in the valley.
One of Hopi's important resources is coal. For more than 4 decades, the Hopi have used their energy resources for the benefit of our people.
One thing that's not being factored in is the devastation that's going to happen to the Navajo and Hopi tribe, the people that are there.
I look at those children today. What are they going to do when their parents no longer have jobs?
Last week, natural gas pricing went up 10% in 1 week. Our coal pricing hasn't fluctuated by that much in 4 years.
Keeping Navajo Generating Station is important for us so we can maintain food and fiber and water for the cities and the towns and the communities that we live, and for the tribes that use our water supplies and energy supplies for growing crops and serving their people.
humble me. I had no idea this existed. Yeah, thanks a lot, Sydney. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me just a couple of minutes to have your ears and your minds. Right now, you have got, and I'd like to go visit just for a moment the National Monument thing. You've got a growing level of belligerence with state legislatures around the 13 western states. I gave a pretty impassioned closing argument at the end of session. And essentially the message was, stop treating us like a second-class citizen state. Stop treating us like a territory. How about you start treating us like a state that can stand on its own? That apparently caught a lot of attention. Secretary Zinke now has a number of advisors who I trust deeply, who are asking questions about, well, you know, when it comes to the Antiquities Act, there's a small piece of language in there that says, and you're probably very familiar with it, the smallest area, I'm going to paraphrase, but the smallest area necessary to protect a specific thing. I'm still struggling with what's specific. I get the part about this small piece of rock that can support a particular kind of cactus. Well, if that rock doesn't exist and the cactus isn't there, you're not protecting anything. So we all know what's been going on. It's a tremendous misuse of the law. Unfortunately, there are two groups within the Navajo Nation. One, Representative Cheney said on the floor openly, if we need to misuse the law to set land aside, then let's misuse the law. Paraphrased, of course, but you can go back and see exactly what he said. On the other side of the argument are those people who don't use emotion but use reason. So there are a couple of things that are going on with, and we've got to think about Kayenta Mine separately from NGS. NGS was built to be shut down. There is a date certain that it will go away. What we're trying to do at this point is expand its decommissioning date out to even beyond December 2019. I'm not sure if President Begay misspoke, 2029. He doesn't usually do that. We just know that there is a group within the Navajo community that want to see that thing shut down as soon as possible. So we still have a natural resource that is viable, that is easy to get at. So now we're on the clock. We basically have got about 2 years, year and a half, find another use for the coal. We think we've got 2 or 3 different opportunities that have already stepped forward that I'm not at liberty to talk about quite yet, but they're new technologies. I think Mr. Tobin and Mr. Lewis brought up a great point. We have coal-fired power plants around the country, and to shut those down is exactly what the Sierra Club wants to see happen, because then their client, they received $32 million from Chesapeake Energy. Talk about disclosure and transparency in lobbying, that's the big one. So the whole idea is, if, as long as you've got coal plants, as long as you have hydropower, as long as you have nuclear, you are holding the natural gas concern in check. For us to put all of our eggs into one basket that can cycle up and cycle down quickly, that's a great selling point. But I think one of the things that came up in some of the testimony was, if we have a San Bernardino pipeline event, we lose pressure in the system in 7 minutes. That's 20% of the population of Arizona immediately goes without water, no transportation fuel, because they can't fix the line that fast. They can't recharge the line that fast. You engineers in here know exactly what I'm talking about. So I would urge you, please express your interest in seeing NGS stay open as long as possible. You can write Secretary Zinke, Department of the Interior, tell him that the Kayenta Mine is an integral natural resource that the state of Arizona is going to need to have for the future because of the energy revenue, the tax revenue that feeds that area. And I'll close with just one of these things that people don't ordinarily think about. Page Hospital, we held a hearing up in Page. Page Banner Hospital has 13, I believe the number is 13 critical care nurses. Every single one of them is married to somebody at NGS. NGS shuts down, they don't have a hospital. Because those guys are not going to stick around, their spouses aren't going to stick around. So the unintended consequences of these folks who are enamored with the whole green agenda, we've got to shut coal down because coal's bad, because coal's not making enough money. That's not true. And I would call your attention to the KNST interview yesterday with Dr. Freese and trying to encourage legislators to stand behind the Paris Accords and against the president. I won't be there. Thank you very much. I'll be standing behind Mr. Trump. So with that, I appreciate this. If you've got questions, I will stay till afterwards. The other thing, this is an example, by the way. We filled the room at the Heard Museum. I think the capacity was, what, 110 or 109? Fire marshal came and said, no, nobody else. It was a sea of blue shirts. Guess who was blocked out in the parking lot? All the greetings, they got there late. And the fire marshal basically said, well, nobody else comes in until somebody goes out. Well, that word sped through the scene quickly, so nobody left. That was kind of cool. So please, that's an example of when you get involved, you make a difference. There was enough pressure put on the powers that were negotiating different pieces of this. And I'm not going to vilify anybody. It's a negotiation. It's a business negotiation. There was enough pressure put on them to come to an agreement. A big part of that was the show of people who came out and said, we support the mine, we support this way of life. This Chairman Honati is not kidding. This will be another long walk. And I don't know if anybody knows what I'm referring to, but this will be another destruction of a tribal group. When 80% of their income is dependent upon coal and they have to go elsewhere for a job, those people will be distributed forever. They're not coming back. So I urge you, support the mine, write letters to your congressman. Probably the most friendly one right now is Representative Gosar. Just ask him, please continue to look at this. I also recommend you write Secretary Zinke directly. He has a working group that's working on this. And of course, feel free to write me. I will communicate your thoughts, your concerns, your points on up the line. It helps when the governor is also, when our governor is also hearing from legislators who are hearing from constituents. You have a voice, use it. Thank you very much.
I know you guys weren't able to drive all the way to Phoenix to be at that rally, but today you have homework. So that video was on the Amigos website, miningamigos.com. That's easy. If you can't remember it, write it in your phone right now. miningamigos.com. Click on that video and see it again, look at it, and then share it. We need people in the state of Arizona that live in the cities to understand, and all you have to watch is the first 15 seconds of that video to understand that if that mine and that Navajo generating station go away, think about your water bill. Because that Central Arizona Project Canal System pushes a whole heck of a lot of water, and water is heavy, and it's normally pushing it uphill. So, Phoenix people that don't understand mining need to understand it will impact them. It's not just about those Native American jobs, those are important, but people, they care about the pocketbook. So, watch the video and share it and say, all you gotta do, friends, in Phoenix and Tucson, watch this video for 15 seconds, and then you'll understand why the Navajo generating station is important to you. Okay? That's your homework. Everybody promise me? Raise your hand. You're going to do it. Yay! You're going to do it. Okay. I have 2 more announcements and I'm done. Okay. Mark it down. August 18th, Friday, this week. It's going to be in your inbox, and you're going to want to sign up because it will be the Arizona's first ever reverse mining expo. ASARCO's participating, and Rosemount's participating, and Freeport's participating, M3 Engineering is participating. We got them all, folks. This is your chance for speed dating, okay? It's speed dating for the mining industry. We're on a speed date with Manuel Ramos. The mines are going to be your captive audience, and you're going to have 12 minutes. You're going to have 12 minutes to convince them to know you, to know your product, to know your service, and to know that they need to know you, and you can make those business connections in one day. That day, August 18th, will mean more to your business than any week you've had all year, I promise. So August 18th, sign up, be a part of it, and it's going to be fun too.
Where is it?
Flagstaff. Cool time. America. It's going to be in Flagstaff. So it's even going to be cooler, beautiful. Okay, that's one. Next one, September 15th. Our next golf tournament, Lodge at Titanic Canyon. Our golf tournament a couple weeks ago sold out. Beautiful. Everybody had a great time. The one in Tucson will be even better. Because that's just what we do. That's how we roll. That's it. Yeah.
I just need my oxygen now. First of all, I want to say thank you again to Granite Construction for their hospitality. These folks have been absolute, and before we're going to go, Tom Aldridge, who is now president, right?
Yes.
Of the Mining Foundation of the Southwest.
That's right.
It only took me 3 years to figure out what that was. There you go, buddy.
Great. Our brochures are fresh off the printing press. Amanda Brick has a bunch of them. And pick them up. This year's honoree is Gary Goldberg, who is the president and CEO of Newmont Mining. December 2nd, Marriott Star Pass, you know, the same SME weekend that we all have. So started off with golf tournaments, Mining Foundation dinner, and then the December conference. Last time I forgot to promote membership. You know, we can only do this if we get members, if we get sponsors for the foundation dinner. So membership is $100. They told me at one point in time that they had something like 400 or 500 members, Amanda. We're down to about 115 right now. So we could really use some membership. $100, go on the website, miningfoundationsw.org. See it? Yes, it is tax deductible, because it's foundation, it is tax deductible. Other honorees are John Lacey, Deacon Senior McDonald Yetman Lacey, also director of the Global Mining Law Center. Evan Robinson, young professional, who's with Southwest Energy. Industry Partnership Award is SRK Consulting. Inductees from Mining Past include Frank Murphy, Henry Lisinski, Lee Allison, and Kathy Whitman. So we're going to have quite a good program. It's always a lot of fun. Sponsorships, anything from $1,000 to $10,000 are available, and you're going to be hit up here real soon. So last year we had about 585 people at the banquet, which was all-time high, I think. So we'd like to at least match that this year. So thanks very much.
Well, because Manuel said it's June and it's hot, we're probably not going to meet in August or July and August. We'll probably come back in September. However, keep your emails open because Sydney's going to send we need some talking points on the Peabody issue. And then we'll send out information on the National Monument discussion. So your input and everything is very important. Now, I told you I didn't have a joke, but I forgot to tell you my brother from Ireland called me. His name is Weewa. Weewa, a strange name for an Irish lad, but my mother named him Weewa when the ambulance siren went off. Weewa, Weewa. Weewa, God bless him, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. So he rings me, he says, I'm quitting smoking. I said, good on you. He says, I'm going on a nicotine patch. So I rang him a couple of days later and I said, well, how you doing with the smoking? He says, it's terrible, I crashed the car. I said, you crashed it? He said, I did. He says, it's very hard to drive with a patch in one eye. Y'all drive safely, thank you very much, and goodbye.